Okay, we call the meeting to order. Gonna do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Yes, John?
Yes. I'm here as zoning administrator, and I've just given you a little agenda of things that we're dealing with that the select board may have interest in. Thank you. And the first item is hearing on May 10th for the appeal of the driveway permit at 140 Main Street. And we're gonna do a site visit. We'll meet here and walk over there at 6:30. And I think at the last meeting I gave you the letter that we had got from the owners of the property.
Right.
And they were, instead of me this time, they were more angry at the select board. So I'm hoping that some of you will come when we do the site visit to see what their issues are.
So what is that, that's next Wednesday?
No, next Tuesday, yes.
Okay.
My dog's getting spayed that day, so I don't know if I'll be around.
Okay, on May 17th, we're having a hearing for Robert McCosker, who has purchased the former drugstore building. And the main question to deal with the town is to be able to rent those apartments upstairs. In the bylaws, he is required a written agreement with somebody for parking, and I assume it would be the town because you own the lot across the street. And it's our hope that, and I've talked to Robert about it, he's, agreeing with it, like pay $100 a year for each parking spot.
Does it even need to be that much?
Well, some are
I charge him $1 a year.
because us taxpayers, I'm not talking as zoning administrator, but us taxpayers
Right.
should not be supporting those parking lots for these tenants. There's been some cars in that parking lot have been there all winter and have never moved all winter.
Would it make sense to at some point put lines in that parking lot and
Is
if,
it, is
It's
it,
paid.
is it paid
paid,
now?
paid. But I mean, would it make sense to paint lines, and if we're going to lease parking spots, designate those spots?
Yes, they should be designated, yes.
And would, I mean, maybe that could be a stipulation as first year leases, pay to paint and designate however many we deem he needs, or he.
Yeah.
That
Well, the
way,
bylaws say how many per apartment?
Two.
Two?
Two for each apartment.
and how many apartments are there too?
Two.
Yeah.
And that will be our hearing on May 17th. Okay, our next thing is 26 Providence Street. There was a complaint about barking dogs, and I sent you a copy of the email from the person that's complaining. And
Same person that was complaining about
yes,
noise at Mocha's.
yeah. And the next one was 60 Main Street, which is Eric and Kim Collins. Last year they installed a patio and driveway, which I believe is all on town property, or some of it is, and they know that, and they claim they turned a permit to be signed by the town to the select board, and nobody seems to know what's happened to it. Has anybody seen it anywhere?
I wonder if Andy found it when he was cleaning out the desk.
I don't know. I don't recall in the last year. I remember some discussion about it a long time ago.
Yeah, about 2 years
Because
ago, there
that,
was
where the
discussion
driveway
about it.
is right next to the emergency services building, and it was on town land.
Yeah.
The driveway was?
Yeah. And I don't know how or if it was approved.
Well,
Well, I know they came in and they talked to the select board about doing some painting on the side of the building.
and patioing next to the fire department, and there's no reason for us to really access it. And I think we made a point that if we had to get back there to do anything with the roofing, put staging or whatever, we'd have to do it, so whatever happens to be there is there, it's not ours.
But the thing is, they need a building permit, just like any other person in town. And they told me they filled out one and gave it to the select board last fall to have somebody on the select board sign it, because it's town land and nobody seems to know what's happened to
I
it.
remember signing a paper.
You sure it wasn't 2 years ago?
No, it was last fall.
Because I don't recall, and I don't even remember writing about it in any minutes or anything.
No. Can't remember seeing a permit, I do remember talking about it.
So it may have, got lost somewhere.
It could have.
So how do we wanna proceed? Do you wanna have Michael look for it and,
Just have them fill out another one.
Yeah, if no one can find that one.
Yeah.
And the last thing is, 24 Willow Street, Rick Mason is complaining about all this trash that he claims comes from Porky Tetro that's on town property.
Have
If
you
it's on
looked at it?
town property, it's your responsibility.
Have you looked at it?
No, I haven't been down there recently, no.
I was down there doing some work on the Riverwalk, and there, around that corner,
It's right around that corner, yeah.
there's an extensive long line of lawn, tractors, miscellaneous other items and I don't know whose property it is, but it extends,
If it's across the road, I think it's on town property.
but if it's on the left-hand side, it's his. If you're going towards,
Well,
back towards the park,
Well, he's not the last house.
I'll
He's the second house from the end.
Yeah.
I'll take a look at, I'll get with the listers and see what the town lot is, okay?
Alan, do you know if we own any on that side? Down on Willow Street as you turn to go
I
behind,
know, I think we do.
on both sides of the road down
But
there, right?
exactly where it is, I don't know.
Okay.
I'll take a look at it some more.
Okay, that's all I have for tonight.
Always such good news from you, John.
And are you just be visiting? Do you wanna write down that she's visiting?
Yep.
Oh, you did. He's already on it. Now the USDA Community Facilities Grant Public Information Hearing.
You wanna start? saying-
Yeah, it's next on the thing, so.
Alright.
Anybody here to speak to that?
I don't think anybody knows what it's about even. No, I think I did see something, a notice in the paper about it a while back.
Do you want me to briefly say
Yes,
anything?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
So the USDA public hearing is for the grant that town's gonna apply for the EMS station. It is for them to have new radios installed in their ambulance trucks. And that's pretty much the gist of that. They need new radios. They've been there for, Joey said, around 20 years, so
Yeah.
they need to be upgraded, and this grant is just helping get some funding for that for them, because it's it's pretty tight on their ambulance budget.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Highways?
not a lot to report. The town foreman position has been posted. I think this will be the second week. I know we have at least one, possibly two candidates. I haven't spoken to Kylie since last week, but I'll touch base with her early next week, and probably for the next meeting, maybe we'll have some candidates to discuss. And I did speak with the town crew about the sinkholes over by the railroad station, from the railroad station down through.
Yep.
They were gonna look at them, fill them in. Scott was out that day, but Slim said at some point it might make sense for us to budget some money, and because what the problem is, they're all cement, it's a cement culvert, with joints, and as the frost heaves, it opens them up just enough, and water goes down through them and opens a bigger and bigger hole, that we might want to invest in a whole 900 feet worth of 2.5 or 3 foot culvert to just fix the problem. You know,
Yeah, it's been patched for years.
so, something to put on the horizon.
You know the property we're talking about? On Province Street, behind where we had all those sinkholes down from the depot. It's a storm drain that runs
All the way
behind
down.
those properties.
Ricky Boy.
Yeah.
It goes all the way down.
We
I
try
guess,
not to use too many names here.
and it goes all the way down, I guess, through that parking lot and into
Right.
the river.
Yeah.
It's like, so at some point in the past, they decided to bury an entire stream 900 feet to the river. And it's all cement tile that keeps
Yeah.
What
springing.
happens is it's opening up and there's some spots this big, I mean, an animal could fall in there, a child. And I don't
Yeah,
know how big the cement drain itself is, but if they get lodged, I mean, that's very dangerous in my books. And I did see the hole this big
Sure.
behind Ricky's house, so.
Boy, the town, the highway crew did a ton of work there a few years ago.
Yeah.
Well,
I
that's
bandaged it.
Yeah.
That's why Slim is saying it's just gonna be an ongoing problem, and you know, at some point maybe we just, I mean, the town can do the
Well,
crew,
but
they can do the work. We just got to budget for the piping. I think is.
But one of the real issues was that they wanted to build a garage over the top of it, is that correct?
Well, that's what I've heard, there's been no
Okay.
permit applied for anything.
Well, regardless of how and when we repair it,
Right, they still can.
we
put
still
garage over
won't
top of
give
the
them
square.
a
Yeah.
permit because it's town land, so, or a town easement is what it is. Okay,
Just on the horizon,
Mhm.
something to consider.
Anything else?
That's it. I mean,
Okay. Buildings, we're still waiting for the company to come and remove the stones off the roof at the post office building. I have nothing in the works here as far as the position for the maintenance person, management facilities maintenance management person, is the new title of custodian. I interviewed a couple more people. And I brought one through a walkthrough today around just to see, because I think it is a big job. The position also is including like the painting and a little bit of maintenance here and there. But if something goes on like the gazebo, we're gonna have them paint like down there, different things like that, make it a bigger position. So we're looking for more like a handyman, maintenance person, also cleaner. The person today is still very interested, even though he saw the gist of what we're doing. But I do have one more coming through tomorrow. I already phone interviewed him last week because I was out sick. So we did interviews over the phone, and then person meeting this week, and then showing them what the gist of the job is. They're both still very interested, so I'll see the other one tomorrow, and then we'll make a decision sometime this week. What's going on for the sign out front?
So the sign, trying to figure out what to do with the base, so I've been trying to contact the chief, Ryan about that.
Yep.
Still haven't made too much contact with
Now,
him.
he came down and contacted with, Kylie, and talked to
Yep.
Kylie, he said.
Yeah, he did once,
Yeah.
and then after that, I don't know what's
Yeah.
happened, so I've been trying to call him, but
Okay.
I haven't been able to get in contact.
There's a couple other bases around too that maybe we could get a couple different quotes.
Right, that's what
So
our next
that's-
step, Kylie and I talked about, was
Okay.
seeing if there's anybody else available.
Okay. And that's it for buildings, water and sewer?
obviously he's not here
Oh, that's
today,
right,
but,
Kathy?
Anybody know what happened at the Collins house? Where they had to tear up the whole front yard?
I do not.
It happened over the weekend. Do you know?
It was on Friday.
Yeah.
They were digging it up. Yeah.
This is just what I heard, was that there was a sewer blockage that, was the next door property.
Okay.
But the line from that property to the main ran across their front yard.
Oh,
So to replace the line from the house to the main, they had to dig up 2 yards instead of 1.
So the problem was on Margot's property? I was just curious, cause it's kind of messy for a couple of days there.
And they did patch up up on Highland Avenue, the sinkhole that was up there, they did fix that too.
So,
It needs to be fixed again because it settled, so now there's still a drop like this, up from the pavement, but they did a pretty good job. Okay, parks, playgrounds, cemeteries.
Working with John Weatherby to get him to pick up the trash at Richford Center. What it is, it's like winter debris. It's old wreaths and things like that that are all heaped up in a couple of trash areas up there.
Okay.
John said he'd be able to take care of it. He wouldn't give me an exact date, but
When you get somebody.
and I talked to Donald Noyes yesterday, and he says he's in good shape in terms of the spring maintenance. He's got most of the cemeteries done. He's got the parks done, and he was asking me about the Main Street Park and how it's become dog dropping park again, like it used to be in the old days. And I know we put a waste station there, but I was out last week basically, so I couldn't check to see if we got the right size bags or wrong size dispenser or whatever the thing is. But I'll check into it this week and we'll move forward on that, because he said it's a real problem. I mean, he said he picks it up, but it's
It's horrible.
he'd like to put it on the landlord's doorstep, he said,
Yes.
you know, because he knows who it belongs to.
You said that was at Davis Park?
No, that's at Main Street
Oh,
Park.
Main Street Park.
Would we call it something else? Main Street Park? I don't know. Across
I
from
don't
the
think
church
there's
there.
name to it. No, there's no name to it.
So has it just been because there aren't any bags and we think that if we get that station back in, it will go back
It'll
or?
help, it won't cure it. But
Oh.
the first go round, when we put the bags there,
Mhm.
it went from untenable to slightly better.
Yeah.
I mean, it's never been great, because, and I think, and maybe you can check on this for me, Michael, it's an ordinance related to pet waste on the public properties. I think there is,
Do you have
because there's
cameras?
signs in both of them. No, we don't have cameras over there.
We should have.
Well, what are you gonna get the sheriff to write $10 dog feces tickets?
Yep.
Yeah. We can't even get them to adhere to a schedule that we want. But I'll look into it. Plus, we have one in this room here that's gonna be installed in Davis Park.
Perfect.
I bring my own, but there's quite a few others that don't.
I know.
So, and I gotta get on that playground building. Did you talk to the highway guys at all about that?
Yes, we talked a little bit, maybe it was before the meeting. They think it can just be, the wall can be fixed by reblocking it
Okay.
and, maybe cutting out the things, what's left of the floor. My understanding was put some good stone down,
Mm-hmm.
maybe put it,
Report.
and re-pour it. And it'd be good for a while.
Okay.
Um,
Is the building a hazard right now?
They didn't think so, and I don't think so, because it's not a support wall.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's,
Yeah, I do know.
It's just a divider wall. I mean,
See, my thing is, because the baseball team's using it for storage now. They have like their line for the fields and stuff in there.
that front side, I actually went in there on last Thursday, and
Mhm.
I mean, you can see in the far corner that the wall looks like it's dropped about this much.
Yeah.
But I mean, their wall's fine, everything, both sides of that wall, that far back.
Mhm.
So I have not seen the other side because
Yeah.
the door's locked, but it doesn't look bad on that end of the building.
And that's the non-bathroom end.
Right.
Okay. And I think the town crew still has the bathroom door key.
Yeah,
That's
so
what Slim told me anyway.
so I can maybe,
Well, no, I'll I'll be out and around tomorrow and I'll go down. Yeah, okay,
I've been working with the rec committee on grant with that, for that building. So
great,
I can
yeah.
Deal with
Nice.
that too.
Yeah, I mentioned that to Kylie too, so. And as we talk about the rec committee, and it kind of falls out on the parks and so forth, we gotta get a new sign for the loaner kayak and canoe building. Cause it still says, if the snack bar is closed,
Oh.
call the town hall, and on weekends, call Linda Collins.
Okay, so
And,
it's a sign.
So, yeah, it's pretty simple, I just pull it off. And I already said, perhaps,
You're right.
it should fall, yeah, I'll take care of it, but
Okay.
it should fall out under the rec committee in
Mhm.
terms of, because they were looking to get inner tubes to float on and different things, so, yeah, and I spoke to Kylie about it, and she said,
Absolutely.
She
I
was-
think it's
she was
all
in
part
with
of the
that. She was in
recreation
good with
here
it.
in
Yeah.
Richford and
Mhm.
increasing what we do
Mhm.
and what we offer. I think that'd be great.
So that's as exciting as grass growing and dead bodies are.
Did you ever find out if that cemetery up past, my property out?
No, I don't know who it belongs to, the one that's
I
on
wonder if it's the
East
second
Richford
story.
Slide Road, not, yeah,
It's
East Richford Slide Road.
Not the first one,
Yeah.
that's on the Canadian border, but the one up above it, it's further up.
Do you know who
Is
that belongs to?
North Troy or Jay?
Maybe Jay or Richford. It's gotta be right on, close to the line.
Remember the apartment building my brother Scott owned up there? Just about across the road, just up a little further.
It's the one I'm thinking
It's
of.
just a little one, old.
I think that's ours.
Is that ours, the little one up past there? Cause the white
Not the
apartment
one
building,
first going up the hill,
Yeah, no.
we're talking about the one way down.
way up.
You know where the Morris farm is? Like,
Mhm.
it was right in front of that.
Yeah, it's up there, right on the edge.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think that is ours.
So maybe we
town
could
of
look
Richford.
at
I'll
it
check-
and see
I'll
about
check it out.
doing
I'll
some
get some-
repairs up on the stones, cause they're
When
falling over and stuff.
When I'm doing the, and you're gonna be looking at cemetery funding,
Oh, yeah, yep.
okay?
For, you said grants for like the stone.
Repair headstones and
Yeah.
things like that, just general maintenance like that. We don't need to put up more fences and stuff. We
Right,
already got that approved to expand Richford Center.
Okay.
Cause they go
Yeah.
way up past the road now. Okay,
Okay.
that's what I know.
For, I guess on top of the playground stuff, Mrs. Sway Paddle, I contacted them again about the sponsorship.
nice.
So they said all they want is just like a formal like approval that they can use it, and then they'll just put you on as their sponsorships for allowing them to use the park, Davis Park.
I think we should.
Yeah.
I would make a motion for that.
Yeah, and we do a lot of stuff with them at the Great Gables, like.
Yeah.
They use our Wi-Fi networks and they come over and print stuff at our place and store stuff and camp at our house and
Yeah.
so,
And this week, because now you're the new playground cemeteries personnel,
that's
we'll
great.
be working a little more after the meeting I have with them tomorrow.
Perfect.
Sure, I'll get more assigned things.
What time are you meeting with them tomorrow?
I think it's like 10:30, something like that.
Am I out of bed by then?
So Tim, you seconding that to approve to have?
Oh, yeah, I would think, who made the initial
I did.
motion? Okay, and I'll second that for sure.
Perfect. Is there any other business?
Oh,
All those in favor?
All those in favor, thank you.
Aye.
Aye. Missed that one, I knew I was gonna miss something.
Yeah, unfortunately, I got a lot of other business stuff.
Okay,
50 Farrar.
mm-hmm,
We
What's
talked
that?
about it last Thursday. Did we get an update from our attorneys and what date
I
is
have not heard
dates? And
anything.
Kylie's gonna call Kristen.
Yep.
And it was a 21-day window.
Yep.
Now, we received the letter from the attorney on the 14th of April.
Yours,
The decision is dated March 21st,
Yep.
I think. I have it in
I
here.
believe they said that they were supposed to be out by May 1st.
Well, yeah, and we were gonna coordinate with the sheriff, and they're still living in there.
Yeah.
I checked it out today. And so, I don't know, what do we want to do?
Will you follow up with Tyler and then send us an email as to what she finds out?
And as for the eviction notice?
Yeah, 50 Farrar
Yep.
for the Walker property.
The one-
And the town actually owns the building, and they've been living in there for 2 years now.
Squatting.
And we've had eviction notices that have been appealed and appealed and appealed. Most recently, it was denied, so, we need to move on it. I mean,
Yeah,
and,
we need to
and we're
move
getting complaints from the neighbors about vermin in the area.
Yep.
And things like that, so, nothing that a, good bulldozer can't, cure. There was a letter. Yeah, there it is. This is the, entry regarding the motion was dated March 21st.
Yeah.
So, got a email from the, Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
Last week, and they would like to have us appoint Jessica Boone as a replacement for Carrie Bilodeau.
Okay.
And we need to agree to approve Dan Seeley's next 4-year term. His term was up in April. And they're also gonna have, they're gonna invite 2 10th grade students to be youth ambassadors. They will not vote. You know one of them, Will Steenauer, and Silas Martin, who you might know from up on South Richard Road. And I would just make a motion that we appoint Jessica Boone to that open seat. We renew Dan Seeley, and we welcome the youth representatives.
I'll second that.
Are you?
Yeah, that's the motion, yeah. And here's all the names right here, if you need them.
Okay.
I'll say aye.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Gonna take me a while on that one, apparently.
Welcome to our new member, Mr. Alan Fletcher. And I don't know how the board feels. I see he's walking around with a set of numbers, which is pretty cool. How would you feel about being the financial eyes and ears of this board? Just a suggestion.
I'd be very comfortable with it. I did it for 10 years, so.
Yeah. And the other thing, because, I mean, we all kind of look at our own numbers too, you know, and we don't have a lot of leftover stuff that somebody doesn't carry responsibility for. And I had heard on the street that at one time you had some interest in housing in this community. Whether it's just brainstorming, working with Michael about how we can update ordinances, and working with John for different enforcement issues as they pertain to zoning. And I don't know if that's something you'd be interested in. I think before you left the town clerk position, you had some interesting ideas. You can think back, you'll remember. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that's something that would interest you as well, but this board has never had a representative that helped oversee housing. I mean, we have a housing officer, we have a health officer, we have a zoning and a planning board, And I don't see why the select board wouldn't have a handle in probably one of the most important issues that are in this community right now.
When I was town clerk, my involvement in terms of housing was more to the point of how can we have an impact on the quality of the housing in Richford and affect change through financial means.
Yeah, sure.
You know, we already have a housing officer, we have a health officer. I
And we
think-
have I don't mean to interrupt you, but the housing ordinance that I find is dated before the merger, 1997, and it pertains only to the village. And I can't find anything that's been updated since then. And it's the simple things, like you say, the impact of the appearance and the safety issues and the enforcement of all of these. The town housing officer is only responsible for rental properties. Okay?
Yeah.
And I, to this day, don't understand that, but it's true. But there's plenty of single-family homes. I was driving down, what is it, Union Street? That come, 54 hours on the corner.
Yeah.
What's that street that goes
Center
down there?
Street.
Center Street. There's houses literally falling down on that street. And they're single-family homes. And if they're abandoned, they're abandoned. And, I mean, I feel that we as a board should be making every effort. That's as much of a beautification issue as anything else in the town. You know, we cut the grass, but if the building's falling down behind it, what's the difference? You know, I think it's important. It's a big job. You can say no, or you can leave it to the board, but,
yeah, I would,
I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I know you weren't, you could think about it, you know. Because Michael's gonna have a hat full of headaches about it too, so.
thinking back to when I was involved with this as town clerk, there were some real restrictions on what the town
You do.
has the authority to do,
Mhm.
more than I thought there would be. But I would be willing to take a look at what some options would be and see what might be feasible and.
That would be great, I think, anyway. I just, you know, and one of the big things is gonna be updating the housing ordinances, which are,
Well, which would help with enforcement, yeah.
yeah,
Because I know,
That's all part of the job of us.
I know Levi had explored, you know, or discussed options with Tim Smith, and like some of the stuff that St. Albans does,
Right.
some interesting things, it sounds like, to the point of, you know, putting liens on properties until certain things are done, you know, I think relative to like junk vehicles and things like that. So I don't know, so maybe that's the thing, is establish what your goals are, and then, you know, kind of discuss with other communities possibly what ordinances they have in place
Well-
to address or tackle those,
for
and think about implementing them.
For rental properties, St. Albans has a individual inspection process that every unit has to be inspected. The landlords, I believe, pay $100 a unit for an annual inspection. Of course, they just pass it along to the tenants, of course.
Yeah.
But they get inspected, and it's more than just like this Section 8 that kind of happens most of the time, but not always. And I know that when I used to be working for Richford Renaissance, we used to quake in our boots when there was inspection time, when the different agencies would come down, and we'd spend weeks filling cracks in sidewalks. Missisquoi Manor it's not a real old building, but it has its share of problems, and you really had to jump through hoops, and it passed. I mean, we got great scores, but
You're still strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but nobody's riding herd on these people that are providing substandard. I won't call them unlivable, but they're substandard. Even like, state code says you gotta have screens on your windows. How many of these houses right over across the street have screens on the windows? None of them. And I know that's a stupid thing, but it makes them look a lot cleaner, and people don't hang out the windows when there's screens in there. And they don't throw things out the windows, and the cat doesn't run out the window, and
Or dogs.
or dogs, yeah. So I'm just saying, it's a huge undertaking. I think the board, as a whole, needs to be actively involved in it. And I'm willing to participate as much as you'll have me, but I can be in the way sometimes more than I'm helpful.
I do think this is an issue that I think is gonna, I think it's gonna encompass a lot of different departments in this town.
Yes.
There's a lot of things you're talking about that are already covered in zoning.
Yeah.
They're already covered with our housing officer. And what it comes down to is the town of Richford gonna enforce what we already got on the books?
That's
Are we
that's the
willing
part.
to spend the money in legal fees to hire attorneys, to, in some cases, do what we need to do, take people to environmental court?
I think that's what we need to do.
A lot of the
to get where we
change
need to
you're
be.
discussing is we already have the ordinances in one department or another
Right, no, I
on our
understand.
books, and it comes down to
I mean,
the select board determining, are we gonna hold people's feet to the fire to enforce these rules that we
Yes.
already have on the books?
That'd be
And,
my plan.
Yeah, and I think if we
And
gotta,
it's the same across the board for everyone, no one's.
there's no favorable treatments, and,
No, everybody's the same.
we're not gonna do Wally's place because he's a good guy, or stay away from Tim's house because it's a dump anyway, and
Yeah, no, across the board, no, and that's what we need to do here in town, that's one of the big things that was, I think, lacking for a while,
in,
is the enforcement. And the standing up behind their zoning, and I think we need to. personally-
is the new short-term, listing, whatever, registration or whatever, is that in Burlington specific? Or is it a state legislation? Does anybody know?
I think it's Burlington.
Just Burlington?
Just Burlington,
Okay.
yeah.
Because I know there was some talk at Montpelier as well. And certainly I know that depending on the definition of short-term, I don't think a lot of places in town would pass. And it would also control Airbnbs, which can be a real black eye for a community if they're not done right. People have a bad experience, then they say, I'm not going back to Vermont, let
Yeah,
alone
but that's
Richard.
any town around, I mean,
I
I
know.
don't think we should be affecting Airbnbs, I mean,
Why? I personally, I'm highly against it,
why,
because I'm licensed, I'm insured,
right?
okay, and I provide short-term rentals. And this is gonna lead into my next thing here, but it's, I don't think it's a well-regulated industry, and it can potentially do tremendous amount of damage to tourism in this state. If you have a bad experience,
You can have a bad experience anywhere. I've been
Yeah.
to Maine 100 times and
you,
I've had a couple bad experiences, but the rest have been great.
and you don't go back there, but
I'll go back to that one.
it wasn't an Airbnb though,
No,
because there's no
Right, they say-
regulations. They're not inspected, they're not licensed, they don't pay meals and rooms taxes, although Airbnb is starting to pay meals and rooms taxes in the
but I
state of
did stay in an
Vermont.
Airbnb over in Stowe and it was beautiful.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
And it was great. And my
Some of them are
husband
great.
went
Why
down to
don't they
one
get a
fishing-
license and rent one room?
They rented the whole house.
Okay, then rent the whole house. All you need to do is get a license. It costs, depending on how many people you're gonna accommodate. I'll get off that stool. That's a side.
I was gonna say, cause I was gonna say, I think that would be further down the road before there are many other
Situation.
more pressing issues that I would tackle before
Sure.
I would tackle, the probably handful of Airbnbs that we have. I would guess that we have many other housing issues.
Oh, yeah, no
bigger and
question.
grander,
Absolutely,
that we should, have much higher on the list before we tackle that.
absolutely. And,
We also talked about town properties and what the town owns and what would make sense for us to sell. And actually have come back and I know you worked a lot with this stuff before, what would make sense for us to put out there to sell?
Town owns a ton of property.
Yes.
And I would,
right,
Right
That I
now,
would love
we're
to have
getting
somebody
no tax
focus on.
revenue from whatsoever.
and I know Eric Collins has brought it up, so maybe the two of you could work and bring us a listing at least initially a listing of properties and
It's in the grand list.
of all the property we want.
We have
And then
a
we
list.
could discuss which ones are beneficial to the town to keep, if there's a property that, has development potential. But I mean, if it's, a property on the,
That's a
And,
lot.
or,
at the end of Willow Street collecting trash.
or if it's, on the end of the McAllister Road, it's a 1 acre lot, it's probably not highly beneficial to the town to hold.
Right.
I don't know if there is one there, that's totally hypothetical.
And some of the lots, I think, that we own, like down on Troy Street, that place that we lease to Ricky Mason on the corner, and we use it for snow removal, and we dump stuff there, but we lease it to them for short money every year, right?
Yeah, we've got a number of properties like that the town, the highway crew indicated in the past, they need a place to put the snow.
Yeah,
Right.
they do.
And they need a place to turn around with the trucks and their plows or
Right.
whatever.
Mhm.
But there are also a number of properties that the town owns that, we don't do anything with.
I think that's the list we need, is that, and if you have an insight on that, if you could bring something like that to a meeting, and then we could talk about it, and maybe even list them with a real estate agent and get rid of them,
Yeah,
Well,
and get some tax money.
I think that's the other thing we need you to explore is how we go about it. I don't even would we list them with a real estate agent, or would we have to do like some sort of public auction? What is the process for something?
I think it's a public process. I don't think we need to use a realtor form.
I don't think we need to do a realtor, but I do think we are required, or
Oh,
even
yeah,
if we're not
they
required.
have to be
I think it would be
available to
appropriate.
anybody.
Anybody
Yeah,
and everybody.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's right.
So that would be an auction type thing, right?
I suppose, yeah.
I think there are some legal requirements about, we do have to, I believe, warn it. And I think it's a 30-day warning period before you could even
Yeah.
do an auction.
Well, what happened with that property over by the high school that the school bought that wasn't handled correctly?
Terry Tatro's little property, that little house.
But I don't think it was handled correctly, was it?
It
The sale of
was, but I think it was a roundabout because it had been talked about, but legally hadn't gotten taken care of yet, and it was like, everybody thought it was already sold, and it wasn't even sold yet, and then the school was gonna buy it, and they said they would buy it because it made the most sense.
But
Because it's right next to their property, and.
they even
it's like
budgeted
kids-
a number
They
that was
budgeted
maybe
number.
smaller than what we could have got for the property, or, and not that the town can make money doing these things, but we just want them to get back on the tax roll.
Right, and it is on tax, it's a school, right?
No.
Kinda. We pay with the other taxes.
No, I'm just saying, I think there was some question, and I wasn't on the board, then I don't know.
Right.
So it was, some question as to how that property was sold.
Right, and it was actually given to us basically to get rid of his taxes, he came in and offered it to us because of his taxes, water, sewer, whatever else, he just.
Well, that's
before
like
he was
that,
in bad health, and he just.
that's
wanted
the
gone.
same conditions about that land that we have down by the Pat Stanley's wood plant that we've been
Yes.
talking about for
Yes,
the rail trail extension.
and then
But
it was,
there's a caveat on that because John Stryker provided that to the town in lieu of paying
yep,
taxes and so forth. And there was some park and or recreation requirements in the deed that it couldn't be developed as anything other than a park or a
recreation.
recreation trail or something like that. So I don't know, before we get into it, we just have to know what the properties are and then research them all and
Yeah.
see what's happening.
And
That'd be
that-
great.
Yeah, awesome.
And the last thing, as I was starting to get into it, I understand that a conflict of interest policy
Mhm.
was found in the desk in the office there. I don't know what it says specifically. I was led to believe that it was tailored to some specific individuals, perhaps? That,
What I took from Andy is, it sounds like it was revisited every year.
Yes, that's what it was. It was
Okay.
Whereas I think I don't think a living I don't think it needs to be a living document.
Right.
I think if it's done right, it's something that's kind of set in stone and goes forward in perpetuity or whatever the word is. So I think I would ask that, Michael, Andy indicated he gave it to Kylie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can you get that scanned and emailed to us?
Yeah.
So we can look at it for next meeting?
yeah, sure. I mean, you're right, it shouldn't change. A conflict is a conflict is a conflict. It shouldn't,
Right.
it doesn't change from year to year, or, I mean, it might potentially in some obscure fashion, but,
Yeah, well, I mean, we're talking like, we don't really know what's there, so it's hard to
Right.
talk about.
I don't know if it
I mean-
changed every year, it was revisited every year, and we re-signed it every year.
well, yeah, I mean,
That's what it was.
certainly this board should be signing them every
Yeah.
year.
Because we changed a couple of things on it, was, like someone who works for the town selling something to the town at this cost without it being pre-approved by anybody. And then also the town being able to sell things like the highway guys or anybody in town to somebody at this cost without being really talked about. Then people are like, well, wait a minute, how come I would have bought it for 500 instead of 300? Or you see what I'm saying? That was a
Like those
so then
extra
we just cut
bucket
it.
loaders from,
Yeah, so basically we cut that out, and that's what we
Gotcha.
revisited, and besides that, it was just re-signed every year, and then we made those
I
changes.
just,
Yeah, but
we're
I
gonna-
think signing it every year,
You don't really need to do that.
well, there's
Sorry.
I know another board I'm on, there's an established conflict of interest policy,
Mhm.
and then there's an acknowledgement that every board
Oh,
member signs
yes.
every year. It's separate and apart.
Yeah.
That,
Yes.
so basically, I don't know if it goes in like the select board personnel file, so you can't say,
I
6
didn't
months
see
in, I knew nothing of that,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like on record that you at least were made
well, I
aware.
think it
And I don't know, maybe
makes
that.
the board's dealings a lot more transparent.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
And if someone says, hey, look, here's the acknowledgement right here that says, whatever, you can't sell this property to somebody without going to auction.
And
or
all
whatever
these
means to them.
policies should be actually on our website, under policies, so if somebody wanted to look something up, they wouldn't have to go to the
Yeah.
state, they could actually go in and see our town policy. for things, so it's not questioned and people aren't like, you're not doing it right.
I agree.
Or
Yeah.
are you doing it right? Have you guys looked it up? We have it there on our website for everybody.
So yeah, maybe we should, I mean, obviously we need to get this one set in stone.
Yep.
But maybe, Michael, you could start, gathering some policies that we can, like, all right, let's get this on there. Because I mean, do they all need to be there, or should, I guess what they should.
I
Yeah,
mean, you could just, like, you talk about, like, you could have, like, the whole policy on the
Yeah,
website, it'd be pretty easy, just,
yeah,
you could link a
Yeah.
PDF
Yeah.
of it, and then,
and
People
just
can pull it up if they have
title it
questions.
well, and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
so it's easily.
So they can find what they're looking
Yeah.
for,
exactly.
It's like in the town charter.
Yeah.
At the state level.
So yeah, maybe just start uploading some stuff to our website then.
So do you want me to review the policy for next time first,
Yes.
before I do that, or?
Yes, and bring it to us so we
Yeah.
can review it.
Yeah, well, you can
Review
send
it
it to
first.
us and then
Okay.
we'll take a look at it and talk about it at the next meeting. I
Yeah.
would
You
say.
And
wanna
then
email
before
it
doing
to us, yeah.
Okay.
When you email it to us, then we can take a chance to read it, and then
Yeah.
after reading it, you have Alan's email?
I do not. I will need that. Okay.
It's a can with a long string attached to the back of it.
Right.
Is there any other business?
Green Up Days this weekend. I'm still trying to get a hold of Jeff Shankovitz to try to coordinate a school program to,
If you get permission, I'll make it happen.
okay, all right. Yeah, I mean,
If you get permission, yeah, I'll get kids there.
okay.
We'll make it disappear.
In the homestead site of
Yes, that's the one.
Bill in the Woods, V-Trans is gonna take care of it.
Oh, nice, okay.
Andy forwarded me an email that he got from the sheriff, that they're still in tune with it and they're going to go and clean it. Everyone's been apprehensive because of the personal belongings
Yes.
up there, and the sheriff says, he's making it happen. Who knows, how long does it take him to repair a bridge or a road?
Right.
But, it should be happening. It's on the stove, it's on a back burner.
Oh, I thought that's what we were talking about.
No, I just think all along the rail trail, and if you put in by the trailhead here,
Yeah.
and just go down like a mile, not even a mile, and you'd be amazed at the amount of rubbish there's little creeks, brooks that run on each side, jammed with trash and bottles, and there's some old TVs in the woods and
Yeah.
all kinds of stuff, so.
You can really see that, like, on 105 coming into town.
Mhm.
You can see all the trash in between
Yep.
the rail trail.
Yep.
The road.
So anyway, and I would encourage everybody to participate if you get an hour or so on the weekend or even before then. There's a bunch of bags outside the front door. I'll be cleaning up Davis Park and behind my house and out towards Pinnacle, going up that way. And there's a lot of stuff there, so. But I'm old and I got one of those pickup
Grabby things?
sticks, yeah,
One of those grabby things.
When I was a kid, they used to give you like a broomstick with a nail on the end.
Yep.
Here's your idiot stick, go clean up,
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what I know. I'm sorry.
Okay. Anybody else? Anything? No? Call the meeting to.
Move to adjourn.